Welcome to my channel. So in this video we will be learning restoring an EBS snapshot. So in that we will learn how to backup a user volume that is attached to an Amazon EC2 instance using an Amazon Elastic Block Store, which is Amazon EBS Snapshot, and we will backup data on one server and then we will restore that data on different server. Okay. So I have already created a VPC with a public subnet and a security group allowing Amazon EC2 instance connect access and to Amazon EC2 instances. Okay. So first of all, we will connect to EC2 instances, uh, which is first instance, which is server A, and then after that we will explore this server 1, and so I will show you. So what is there is a particular directory, okay, in server 1, in that a txt file is saved, okay, and in that txt file, uh, so some content is written, okay. Okay, so there is a data directory, okay, so we will ls into data, then the important text.txt, okay, so this file is there, and we will give the content of important underscore data file, okay. So this file is present inside server 1, okay, server 1's data directory, and so it's backed up when we create an EBS snapshot, okay, and after the data is backed up, our data is safe. We can also restore it to different server if anything goes wrong with server 1. Okay, so now we will prepare a snapshot of server 1 user volume. So there are two types of volumes, root volumes and user volumes. So typically OS files are stored on the root volume and user files such as applications and data are stored on user volumes. So now we will create a snapshot of user volume. Okay. So here, so if I select this and then we will locate, so our availability zone is US East 1A. So we have to note this. Then, so on the storage tab, so we have to also note the volume ID. Okay, volume ID of XVDF. So this device volume ID, which is 0BBA. Okay, now so here we will select snapshots and we will create one new snapshot. Okay, so we have to select the volume ID, which is this, and so our resource type will be volume, and we will give a short description, which is server 1 backup. Okay, then we'll click on create a snapshot. So we will wait until the status in the progress column is available, so before continuing to the next step. So it might take a couple of minutes for the snapshot creation to complete. So now our snapshot status is completed. So from the action menu we will click on create volume from snapshot, and on the create volume page we'll configure the following settings. Okay, so the availability zone should be same as which the EC2 instance that we want to uh, configure this volume on. So the EC2 instance uh, availability zone and the volume that we will be going to create should be same. Okay, so in the tag we'll create name as my important drive. Okay, so we'll click on create. So yes, so now as you can see, the volume that we created just now is in available state, which means we can use this volume or attach this volume to an EC2 instance. Okay, so now we will select this volume, and from the actions menu we will select the attach volume button. Okay, now we will select the EC2 instance on which we want to attach this volume, so which is this server 2. Okay, we will attach this volume on server 2, and then the device name. So I will select this /dev/sdf. Okay, now we will click on the attach volume button. So after that we have to configure the server 2 to use restored volume. Okay, so attaching a volume to an EC2 instance is like adding a hard drive to a physical machine. So the operating system is aware of the new volume, and the volume is associated with a device path. However, the operating system needs to map the device path to a mount point before users can access and change information on the volume. So now we will create a new directory and mount the /dev/xvdf device under the new directory. Then we check the important underscore data.txt file to make sure that it was successfully restored. From instances dashboard, we'll select server 2, and we will connect, or we will establish the SSH connection with server 2. So now we will just verify that whether the important underscore data.txt file doesn't already exist on server 2. So for that, you can use ls data important underscore data.txt file. You can see no such file or directory, which means this file is not present on server 2, and so currently there is no directory on server named under data directory or a file important underscore data.txt, and we must configure the server 2 operating system so it can read the information from the /dev/svdf device. Okay, so we will now use lsblk command. Yes, so we can notice the volume name /dev/xvdf. So this is how the operating system identifies the volume that we attached. Newer operating systems rename the volumes. For example, /dev/sdf was renamed to /dev/xvdf. Okay, so while creating or while attaching the volume, we selected /dev/sdf, but now it's renamed as /dev/xvdf. So now we will run one command to make sure that the restored EBS volume has a file system, which is sudo file with option S and then the our device name, which is xvdf. So now this volume was created from a snapshot, so it's already formatted and contains a file system. So in the future, if we need to mount a brand new device that isn't formatted, we need to format it, create a file system, and on Linux operating system, we can use the command mkfs to format a drive. So now we will create a new directory named as data in the root directory. So now we will use one command to mount the restored EBS volume to the newly created directory. Okay, so we will use sudo mount /dev, which is device name, which is xvdf, and then the directory on which we want to mount this device, which is data directory. So now we backup and restore a user volume. However, sometimes we also need to restore a root volume to a different server. So when we need to restore a root volume, we can either create an image from the snapshot and then create a whole new EC2 instance using the new image, or we can mount the root volume to an existing instance. But for that, to mount a root volume on an existing EC2 instance, we must create a new UUID for the root device. Otherwise, the mount command might fail. So we will use one command to make sure that the important underscore data.txt file is now accessible on server 2. Okay, so we will just list the content of important underscore data.txt file. So this is important information that must be saved. So now we have restored data server 1 to server 2. So now we will configure the operating system to automatically mount the volume at startup. Okay, so to make sure that the newly attached EBS volume is mounted automatically after every boot, we need to add an entry to the fs tab file. So first we take the backup of fs tab file. Okay, so for that we can use sudo cp hc fs tab, then we'll copy this hc fs tab dot back. So it's very important to back up the fs tab file before we make any changes to it, because most servers use multiple storage volumes. So this file tells the server which volume or which volumes to mount when it starts, and maps the volume to directories or mount points on the server. So if the fs tab file contains error when the server restarts, we might not able to access the storage and files that our server and applications need to operate. So we must be able to restore a previous version of this file in case we make a mistake while updating it. So now we will update the fstep file. Okay, for that we can use vim. So sudo vim slash etc slash fstep. Okay, now in that we have to add one line. Okay, which is slash dev slash xvdf. We have to mention the device name, then the directory which is the device is mounted on, and the type of file system, which is ext4, and then defaults, no fail, then 0 and 0. Okay, so that slash dev slash xvdf is a device, so describes the block level special device or remote file system to be mounted. Then second is the mount point, so the slash data. This describes the mount point or target directory for the file system. Then ext4 is the file system type. So it describes the type of file system. Linux supports many file system types such as ext4, xfs, bt, rfs, f2fs, v, fat. Then ntfs is also there, HFS plus, and then TMPFS. Okay, then the options, which is defaults, no fill, describes the mount option that are associated with the file system, and the backup operations. So the 00 represents or used by the dump utility to determine which file system need to be backed up. Okay, so then uh, it also checks which file system checks are done at the boot time. Okay, then we will save these changes. Okay, then we will verify the fs tab file is error free by running the following command, which is sudo mount with option a. Okay, so now we have successfully configured the operating system to automatically mount the volume at startup, and we have also configured server 2 to use restored volume as well. That's it from my side. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new from this video, please consider subscribing my channel and also hit on that like button.